What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Yejide, and if it's your first time stopping by, you are most definitely welcome. So guys, on today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how I made this beautiful milkmaid dress. So in my last tutorial, I actually made the pattern. If you are yet to see that, please go watch it before you see this video. Yes, so this is what the milkmaid dress looks like. You can make the sleeve like this, make it look like this. Yes, but I think I like this better. You can also do this, then you can do this. This is the one I like. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into the video. So these were the patterns from the previous video. So these are the materials I'm going to be using. I've already gone ahead to cut out these patterns on my fabric, and if you note, I left half-inch allowance all through on the fabric before cutting. So you want to make sure you leave half-inch allowance. So this one right here is the front pattern, this is the back pattern. You can see I also left half-inch allowance all through on the fabric before cutting. Then I've got the breast cup. Yes, so this is what it looks like. I also cut out 2 pieces of this, and as you can see, I left half-inch allowance all through. So the front pattern was cut on fold, the back was slitted because of the zip allowance. So guys, we are going to work on the cup first. So this is what it looks like. So you can see that part I labeled MC, so I can recognize that that is the middle cup. So I'm going to open this up like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew down the middle of the cups. I'm just going to fold them twice, and I'm going to sew this down. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So guys, this is it. I've gone ahead to sew them down. So now guys, the next thing is to draw gathers stitch on the top and bottom of the breast cup. So here I'm just trying to make sure that the pattern, the way I place the pattern, is also what the fabric is giving me. So as you can see, I'm just placing the cup pattern on my fabric. So I'm going to go ahead now to draw my gather stitch. So guys, when drawing your gather stitch, you're going to make sure you leave some thread at the beginning so you can draw this width, and also at the end. And also, what I mean by gather stitch are those stitches that are very big. You're going to place that your stitch knob on the sewing machine. You're going to place it on the last number, right, so you can get big gather stitches. So guys, you're going to take one cup, that one that we didn't work on from the pattern video. I'm just measuring the top of the cup for the length, and I have 7.5 inches. So that 7.5 inches that was measured on the top of that cup is what is going to be the length of the top of this cup, this fabric I'm working with, right? That's the upper part of the breast cup is going to be 7.5 inches in length by the time I finish drawing these gathers. So guys, as you can see, I'm just holding one of the rope, one of the thread, and I'm just drawing the gathers. So now I'm just measuring it to make sure that it is giving me 7.5 inches like I mentioned earlier. So if it is not giving me what I want, I'm just going to adjust the stitches. So you want to make sure you also measure the top of your cup to get the length of your upper bust length. I'm also going to go ahead now to draw gathers stitches on the lower part of the breast cup. Yes, that's the under bust part. So guys, I'm going to repeat this for the other cup, and by the time you are done, it should be giving you something that looks like this. You can see the cup is forming already. Also, as you're drawing the gathers on the cup, especially the upper bust, you want to make sure you're taking the measurement to ensure that it is the same length as the upper bust length on your cup. So guys, once I'm done drawing the gathers, I'm just going to go ahead to sew this, to tie it rather, so it can hold my gathers in place. So yeah, as you can see, the cups are formed already. So now let's work on the middle part of the upper part. So guys, I'm going to open this up. The first thing I'm doing is, you can see that part we have the dart. I'm just making sure to measure that, to mark that on the fabric itself. So guys, I'm going to open this up. Like I said, this is the middle, that's the upper part. I'm just going to go ahead now to take it to the sewing machine and sew down my darts using the nipple to nipple measurements. We already drafted this on the pattern, so I'm just replicating it on the main fabric, and I'm going to sew down my darts on both sides of the upper body pattern. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead now to sew down my darts on both sides. So by the time I place my cups on the front pattern, that is what it's going to look like. So guys, I've held down my darts. The next thing now is I've gone ahead to cut out 2 strips. You can see the length is about 25 inches and the wideness is about 1.5 inches. Yes, so guys, I've gone ahead to iron this down on both sides. I made it look like a bias, right, like a bias strip. So I'm going to use this to tape the upper part of the cups. So now I'm going ahead to put this on the inside. You're going to place this on the inside of the cup, and I'm going to sew this down. You can see on the odd side of the cup. So look at it, I've gone ahead to sew this down on the odd side of the cup, not the right side. Then I'll open it up. As I said, iron it down like a bias. So I'm just going to fold this up to the right side. I'm going to fold this on the right side of the cup, and you can see I'm just going to fold this in, and I'm going to take it to the sewing machine also to sew it down. So remember, we started from the odd side of the cup, then to the right side. So now when I get to the end of this cup, you can see this part where my finger is. I'm going to continue to sew it down because we want to form a rope, right? This is what is going to tie both cups together. So you want to continue sewing it down like so to the end of the rope. So I've gone ahead to replicate this for the second cup, and this is what it looks like. You can see looking very neat. You want to make sure you also iron this down. I'm just cutting my excess fabric. So guys, this is what both cups looks like. So the next thing now is to sew down the cup on the upper part of our fabric. Yes, so I'm going to start from the middle. You can see before I sew this down, I'm going to take away 1 inch. I'm going to mark it down 1 inch because I don't want the cup to get to that last part. So you want to make sure you mark away 1 inch from that armhole part. That is going to serve as our armhole. So I'm going to sew that from the middle to the end, away 1 inch away from the armhole. So now when placing the second cup, I'm going to place it on the first cup so that by the time I'm done sewing this, it's not going to leave a hole in between there. Both cups are going to cover my boobs very well, right? So you can see that's what the middle looks like. Then by the time I tie this is what it looks like. So guys, this is what it looks like. This is what the wrong side and the right side looks like. We are gradually getting somewhere. So now the next thing we're going to work on is the back pattern. That's the upper body, the back pattern for the upper body. So I'm just taking away my pattern, and before I take it away, I'm going to notch my zip allowance area. I'm also going to mark where my dart is because I'm going to also take my darts on the back pattern. So I'm just going to mark this using the fabric, and I'm going to sew this down on the sewing machine. So remember that the back pattern is 2 pieces. We have 2 pieces of fabric there. So I'm just marking out my darts so I can sew them down. Also, the dart is about 5 inches long. You can use 6 inches, depending on what you like. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew down my darts. Also note that as I'm sewing down, guys, I'm also ironing this so I can get neat fabric. So the next thing to do now is to use office pins to hold down my zip allowance so I can open the fabric up. So that is what the back pattern looks like, and also the front pattern by the time I place them on each other. So guys, for the back pattern, don't forget that upper part, I'm also going to cut out 2 bias strips that is the same length of the back pattern so I can tape that side. So just the same way you use a bias on the neck of a fabric. So I've gone ahead to use the bias to tape the upper part of the back pattern, and I've also gone ahead to hold down my zipper allowance, so you can see the difference now. You can use a bias or the same fabric, so I used the same fabric for mine. So now the next thing is to take my measurement. I'm going to be doing this on the front pattern. So guys, my bust circumference is 36, so I'm going to subtract 4 from this. 36 minus 4 is 32. I'm going to divide 32 by 2, that is 16 inches. So guys, after marking 16 inches on the upper bust, the remainder of the allowance, I'm going to split it at both ends. You can see I think I had 6 inches, so on both sides I have 3 inches, 3 inches. So guys, coming to the under bust, my round under bust is 30 inches divided by 2, that's 15. After marking 15, the remainder of the allowance, I'm going to slit it at both ends. So the same thing for the waist. So guys, why I subtracted 4 away from that bust circumference is because the cup already is carrying enough depth, right? Enough depth. So I don't have to mark my main bust circumference. So subtract 4 away from your bust circumference and mark the remainder on the bust circumference. So guys, this is what I'm going to use to sew down on the front and back pattern. I'm just going to place this marked front pattern on the back pattern, and I'm going to take this to the sewing machine to sew it down. So what measurement I took here were just upper bust and under bust, round upper bust, round under bust, and waist circumference. So you want to make sure that they are well placed on each other so you can get them well aligned. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now to sew them down. So I am done sewing both sides. I'm just going to turn this to the right side. This is what it looks like. So guys, I'm just going to make sure I iron this down, and the next thing we are going to be cutting now is the skirt pattern, that lower part. So it's just the same way you cut your, let's say, pencil skirt or your A-shaped skirt. So guys, the first thing here is my waist circumference. You know, I'm marking a quarter of my waist circumference. I've marked it on the waist part. Then I'll come down from that waist down to mark my hip line. So on the hip line, I'm going to mark a quarter of my hip circumference. I marked 40. I marked 10 rather. My hip circumference is 40 divided by 4, that's 10. So I'm going to connect. You can see I've already connected that waist circumference down to the hip. So now guys, from that hip, I'm not going to just go straight now. I'm going to make a slant. You can see I'm just freestyling this with my ruler, with the up of my ruler. So I'm freestyling this all the way to the end of the fabric. So guys, whatever length you want the lower part to be, that's what you are going to mark. So I want mine to, like, you know, get to like the floor or something. So if you want yours to be like 3/4, if you don't want the full length, you can as well do that. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my nipple to nipple measurement on from the middle of the skirt to get my dart. You can see then my dart length is 6 inches. So my nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches divided by 2, that's 3.5 inches. That's what I've gonna have to mark, you know, from the middle of the skirt just to get your dart. Then the length is 6 inches. So guys, to cut the back part of the skirt, you are just going to place your front pattern on the remainder of the fabric to get the back pattern. So it is basically the same thing. The only difference is that the back pattern would have a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. And also the back part is going to be in 2 pieces. That's because of the slit in the middle, because of the zipper allowance. So while the front part is 1 piece, remember you're going to be cutting the front on fold. So guys, the next thing I'm just going to do now is also to mark my nipple to nipple measurement on the back pattern using 3.5 inches. I started from that zipper allowance. So that is it for the back pattern. So guys, now let's work on the front pattern. So for that front pattern, I've gone ahead to hold my darts. You can see. So from that dart line, guys, from the upper part of the skirt, this is the front pattern now. I'm just making sure I still have the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark this all the way down, guys. So what I'm going to do now is from that nipple to nipple measurement from the top, I'm going to mark it to the full length of the skirt. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to hold down that part, but before I hold it down, I'm going to mark, you can see 18 inches, that's my new length. So I'm going to hold from the waist down to that 18 inches. So this is it, guys. I've already held from that. I held my dart. So now I'll come down to the full length of the skirt and just cut it from that full length up to that 18 inches I marked. right? That is where my slit is going to start from, right? And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine now to fold both sides of the slit. So guys, this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to basically just join the front skirt to the back skirt and also the upper part of the pattern to the lower part of the dress. This is very simple to do. Just make sure everything is well aligned on each other. So guys, the next thing now will be to fix in my zipper allowance. So for the zipper allowance, before I put it in, I'm going to cut out from that zipper allowance on the back side. This is because I want to reduce puffiness, right? I don't want that puffiness on zipper allowance. So I'm going to come to the middle of the whole dress. This is between the front and the upper and the lower patterns, yes. And I'm going to come in by 1.5 inches. Then I'm just going to blend this down to the lower part and the upper part, and I'm going to cut this out. Remember, this is just to reduce the puffiness of the dress, right? So after cutting this out, I'm going to go ahead now to place my zipper on it. So guys, this is it. I've already gone ahead to place my zip on the dress. This is what it looks like. The next thing now would be to hem the dress of would be to sew down the hem of the dress. So I just folded this twice and I sewed this down, and I also ironed it just to keep it flat. So guys, the next thing now will be to cut out my armhole. So it is 4.5 inches. You remember, this is a sleeveless dress. I just came to the armhole and I marked 4.5 inches and I cut this out. I'm going to replicate this for the other side, 4.5 inches armhole, and cut it down. Remember, this is a sleeveless dress. So guys, the next thing now will be to cut out our sleeves. Remember, this is a sleeveless dress. Is it sleeveless or armless? Like no shoulders, right? So I've gone ahead to cut out two fabrics. You can see two pieces. This is what it looks like. So the length is about 12 inches. Why the wideness? Let's see what the wideness is. The wideness is about 30.5 inches. Yeah, so remember that this is going to be an elastic sleeve. We're going to be putting elastic on this. So I'm just going to go ahead now to place this well on each other and make sure that we're aligned. I want to cut out the sleeve allowance, so which is also 4.5 inches. I'm just going to cut this out. Remember, this was all we cut on the dress itself. So guys, the next thing now, I'm going to hem the upper part and the lower part of this sleeve. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is just to increase my sleeve, my armhole rather, to 5.5 inches, since I'm going to be hemming the upper part and the lower part of the sleeve. So this is what it looks like. I've gone ahead to also iron them down. So now the next thing will be to use our elastic on the sleeves. All right, so I'm going to be placing the elastic on the front and lower part. So for the upper part rather, it is 11 inches. I'm going to cut out two of these. So yeah, just depending on what you feel comfortable with, you can use a lower measurement. So I used 11 inches. I want it to be a bit free around me. I don't want it to be very tight. So I'm going to use my office pin to pass the elastic into the upper part casing. So guys, when passing the elastic, remember to use a safety pin also to hold the other end of the elastic and pin it to the fabric so it doesn't enter the casing, right? So after passing this elastic and it comes out from the other side, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and just sew it down to keep the elastic in place, right? So I'm going to sew down both edges, and I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other sleeve. So yes, I've gone ahead to sew down the elastic on both ends of the sleeves. So now guys, the next thing would be to pass our elastic also on the lower part of the sleeve. All right, so let's measure our elastic. So for the lower part also, I'm going to be using 10 inches. I'm going to be cutting two of these, and I'm going to be using my safety pin to pass the elastic through the elastic casing. Guys, if you have any questions for me, let me know in the comment section down below. If you have any outfit you want me to recreate or anything you are currently sewing and you don't know how to go about it, also let me know. So guys, I've already gone ahead to pass the elastic into the casing, and I'm just going to sew them down, and this is what they look like. I'm also going to arrange this very well on the armhole of the dress, and I'll sew them down using half an inch. So guys, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye.